Really interesting from DC Comics. So they've been putting out manga-sized volumes now at a little cheaper of a price point because, of course, when you put smaller volumes out, they have a cheaper price point. Now, Marvel did do this with their Mighty Marvel Masterworks last year to great sales success as well. And I think somebody actually, I've seen some comments saying, why isn't Marvel doing it? Well, they kind of did it first and DC actually copied it. It's actually what happened. Even though DC's getting the attention right now on Twitter because Big Bang Comics posted this saying they just keep selling and selling and selling. So it's interesting right there. Mark Miller, who's a great writer and independent guy out there, says, from the minute I heard about $10 graphic novels published manga size, I had an amazing feeling about this. They just have to curate it well like graphic novels of old instead of flooding the market. It should be a great entry point for the mainstream. I hope Marvel does the same. Well, like I said, Marvel did do the same already. It's just, you probably didn't see it. And this is something that's interesting out there. The size, of course, allows for cheaper print. And that is something that is easier to get people on the door. It's much easier to get somebody to buy something for $9.99 than it is to get somebody to buy like a $125 omnibus of the old work or whatnot, or one of those absolute editions at $100. Those are for collectors. Now, it's good to have all of this in the market because I love the oversized art. That's one of my things that I love. And I got the Valerian complete collections, which were pretty expensive given how many pages they were. But they are a lot of beautiful oversized art content, and that's something that I was into. Now, before we get into DC's real problem with what's going on here, and there is a giant one, there's an elephant in the room again, let's talk about some great independent works out there. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us, guys, as we fight against mainstream culture and, of course, report on the comic book news, the most trusted name in comic news, and one of the most trusted crowdfunders out there, as I've done over 12 graphic novels to tremendous success. Now, I'm doing something experimenting differently on this, and I'm not going to be doing one of these small paperbacks. I'm doing the opposite. I'm making my books 8 by 10.88, which is about the size of those Valerian books, which I was talking about just ahead of time. It's close to Marvel Omnibus size, and I want to bring bigger art because I think it's really nice to read in that format. So we're doing that to you at no additional cost. We're charging the same thing for our graphic novel as we were at the other sizes, all because I want to bring you a cooler product. And I think that like just using the standard comic size is silly. Like, why would we do that in 2024 when we have other alternatives just because everybody else does it? That's not what we do here. We like to innovate, and you're going to love these production qualities of these books. So this is wonderful science fiction right here, and of course, we've got 25,000 almost. Love to get there today. Pop us over the number. Grab my complete Ayla Rin stories in the description below, guys. You'll love this universe. We've done a tremendous job, and thank you guys so much for the support already. And like I said, subscribe to us here. Come join us and talk about comics. Now, it's interesting. The next point that was brought up, this is the RCBG. Dylan is a great commentator on comics as well. And he says he loves the idea of DC Compact Comics after he probably saw Miller's post. And he says, but some of the stories they're choosing are baffling to me. And this is where Mark Miller said they have to curate it well like the old graphic novels instead of flooding the market. And they're already attempting to flood the market, of course. This is what DC and Marvel number one problem is. They just they see something that's going to sell and they produce like 8,000 of them right away. And they produce a lot of things that people are not going to be interested in on that level. So so he says, out of all the Wonder Woman stories, you chose Earth 1 by Grant Morrison. That is a weird one. Again, it's a latter-day modern retelling of Wonder Woman, which is not, again, one of the most beloved Wonder Woman versions. But, Grant Morrison identifies as a they-them these days. So, maybe that's the direction to go. And then the only Green Lantern book is Far Sector. Another one, which is a total diversity hire. Far Sector was written by N.K. Jemisin, who is a diversity hire race baiter, and she is in science fiction. Doesn't sell very well in general, but she has an entire career of just going out there and making things about just black. I'm racist. And that's what she did here, and hired black artist Jamal Campbell, who's also out there, of course, complaining about white people regularly. And as you can see, Far Sector is just a N.K. Jemisin self-insert stand-in. And it was, I did a review of it a while back. You guys can go look for that. It was atrocious. This is some of the worst storytelling I've ever seen. It's got long swaths of just identity politics dialogue where she just complains about, quote, racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia, and goes deep into that kind of thing throughout the entire deal. It is a terrible offering to be a new Green Lantern offering. If you should do anything, you should probably use the Hal Jordan Rebirth one, because that's really the definitive run by Jeff Johns of our time if you were going to come out with this and try to get new readers in who are interested in Green Lantern. Now, a lot of weird choices all the way around, but that's what DC's going to be doing. They are going to flood the market, and they're going to toy with making some of their tertiary characters into diversity pushes, because this is how they do things. They try to get you in on something. They've got Watchmen, they've got All-Star Superman, they've got Batman Court of Owls. These are all things people like. Again, Court of Owls is a little modern and maybe not the best Batman choice, but it's okay. But they're going to throw in a few diversity things into it. Harley Quinn in the Gotham City Sirens is again later day Harley Quinn, where Harley Quinn's like, messing around with Poison Ivy and gay now in order to push that kind of agenda on people. It's not the worst run of Harley Quinn by any means, but it is also one of those where it's just like the character's kind of been destroyed at this point. You got Wonder Woman Earth 1, which I already talked about, a very odd choice on this level. And you've got some other strange. You got Batwoman. You got a Batwoman elegy out there. This is a Batwoman which was brought in to turn her into a gay character as well by Greg Rucka, whose son is a Portland Antifa member. So you see that they sprinkled in a lot of the classics that you might like. Deceased by Tom Taylor. This is a zombie DC book where nobody cared. Static by Vita Ayala. Vita Ayala is one of the worst race baiters out there. You see like this entire line. They're flooding the market, just like he said. And look, you've got Batman Court of Owls. Let's call it a classic, even though maybe it's debatable, but it's decent. Watchmen is a classic. All-Star Superman's a classic. Batman Hush is absolutely a classic. Catwoman Trial of Catwoman by Darwin Cook and Ed Brubaker. It's a modern classic. And you've got Kingdom Come, a classic. So you've got 50% classics. And then you've got a couple sprinkled in. Obviously, American Vampire by Scott Snyder is just because he's running their line these days, and so they're bringing up his book. That's his creator-owned stuff, probably as an appeasing kind of thing for him. And then you've got all the woke stuff sprinkled in there as about 30% of it. And that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to use the classics to bring up the woke stuff in sales, trying to get you hooked on the stuff, and in order to try to force you to read these forced diversity things as part of the line that's on there. So this is what they're doing across the board. If you notice the way that the trends of these companies are, they're not going outright and trying to push the diversity as much on their main selling books, but they're trying to like drop it down the line now to try to like condition you into reading this stuff so that you won't have as much problem with it in the future, in hopes that they can bring it back again. Now, all of these books failed. Far Sector failed, of course. This Batwoman thing just went way by the wayside pretty quickly. None of this stuff is in print anymore, and the reason it is because it's a disaster. It really is. You get down to, of course, Static Season 1. Nobody wanted that or read that at all. I mean, this is insane that they'd put this in already. Now, when you've already got like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 books out there in this line, you are flooding the market right away on this kind of thing, and you're flooding it with a lot of books that people don't want to read right away. If DC was smart, they'd just cut that kind of stuff and knock it off, because there's so many other stories out there that are well worth publishing and getting into people's hands. You've got JLA Tower of Babel. Like, why is that not in here, right? You've got Batman Year One, of course, which is the Frank Miller stuff gets reprinted a lot, but this is that's the one that you want people in on Batman for. I already mentioned the Green Lantern one, which would be a great one to go for. It's just insane that they've decided to push this stuff down the line. Jeff Johns' JSA. Why is that not a part of this? That was a fantastic Starman by Robinson in the 90s. That was another great one that again does not get printed and reprinted enough. So there's a lot of options out there. DC has so many options because they've got so many comics. But you could tell by what they're doing that they've got an agenda. And their agenda is going to trump anything else that they're going to be doing. And that's exactly why DC's failing on every single level. Because they push this too much and they eat up all their profits with stuff that doesn't sell, that just sits on the bookshelves because they have to push the DEI. Oh my gosh. It's happening again. This is what's going to be going on. I'm making you guys aware of it here. And everything that DC does, everything that Marvel does will always have this involved. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out a great alternative to Marvel and DC Comics right here with the Hidden Emperor graphic novel. This is pure quality science fiction. You're going to love it, and I appreciate you guys for being there.